Well, thank you, Representative Doug LaMalfa, and I couldn't agree with you more. California Central Valley, whether it be the Sacramento Valley where Doug serves and represents, or the South San Joaquin Valley where I serve and represent, is really where America finds its greatest abundance of its salad bowl, its fruit bowl, almonds, plant protein, walnuts, pistachios. California leads the world in production of all of these crops, and it really centers right in the Central Valley. And many of these water resources, whether you're north of Sacramento or south of Sacramento, share the same assets, the same infrastructure. So after several years of devastating drought in California that has really hurt farm families and communities up and down our district, has, through acts of nature greatly, but also through mismanagement of our water resources and lack of infrastructure in California, has really cut the abundance that delivers nutrition and affordability to so many American working families who are suffering from high inflation, both the energy costs, their food costs, and in California particularly their housing costs, because we're simply not responding to the needs of our people as we need to. So in the last couple of days, after a very, very wet season and immense hope on the part of our farmers that relief is on the way, they would get water allocations, many farmers in Doug's and my district received a letter from the Bureau of Reclamation. The Bureau of Reclamation, in spite of historic rainfall, snowpack, and flooding throughout California, is warning irrigation districts, farmers, and ranchers that they may not get their water and should be prepared for reduced allocations and flow restrictions, which will threaten our food security. Now, these farmers are making plans today to plant rice, to plant tomatoes, to plant cotton, to plant vegetable crops. They're making decisions today as to whether they'll invest more inputs into their almond production, their walnut production, their pistachio production, based on what they think the market will bear for their crops when it's ready to harvest and sell, as well as what water they'll have to see those crops through the growing year with. And today they're getting very, very disturbing mixed messages from the Bureau of Reclamation. And so we should review what some of the facts are that the Bureau of Reclamation needs to look at while warning these farmers that even in this water-abundant year, they may not get their allocations. The current capacity and water outlook at Shasta Reservoir is the big reservoir in California. It's got 6 million acre-feet of storage capacity. Currently, it's at 2.7 million acre-feet, with inflows of over 14,000 acre-feet a day coming in. The Shasta Reservoir has more than 1 million acre-feet in storage this year than it did to this time last year. The current snowpack in California, now we're all waiting for the snowpack to come down and fill the reservoir, but we can model how the reservoir will fill based on the snowpack this year. The Sierra snowpack accounts for 1/3 of California's water supply, and the second snow survey from the Department of Water Resources was conducted on February 1st. So we're waiting with anticipation with what the March 1st Sierra snowpack report will bring, but we know from the precipitation events over the last month, it's going to be substantially higher. Nonetheless, the snowpack as of February 1st of this year was 205% of average up to that date. It contains over 33.7 inches of water, or 205% the average of water content of what we normally have up to that date. We know the daily snow sensor report of February 28th, per the California Department of Water Resources, shows the snow water equivalent at each of the reporting stations feeding into the Sacramento River, which supplies Lake Shasta. All of these stations are over 100% of normal snow water content. And throughout California, in the same report, there are 131 stations with all but 4 reporting a snow water equivalent percentage higher than 100% of normal. At Mount Shasta, which feeds the Central Valley Project's largest reservoir, Shasta Lake, the 22-23 snowfall is 202% higher this far into the winter, with 97 inches of snowfall recorded. And as of February 27th of this year, just yesterday, Mount Shasta had received approximately 60 inches of snow in the past 3 days. That's 5 feet on top of the snowpack they already had. And yet, California farmers, food producers, the champions of abundance, are being told to keep their powder dry, not expect full water deliveries this year. Now, apparently, we still don't have enough water infrastructure in California. Even with Shasta filling up, even with a snowpack set there to completely fill and top up our reservoirs throughout the state, even after the state failed to pump the Delta and get that water, the flood waters taken out of the Central Valley, out of the Delta, and into storage south of the Delta earlier this year, we're still going to be topped up, and farmers cannot expect full allocations of their water this year. We need to be building dams. We need to be building reservoirs. We don't need to be tearing them down. And what Congressman LaMalfa has presented here today is an absolute insult to every working family in America who's having trouble affording the nutrition on their dinner plate that they could better afford just a few short years ago. This is going to be the first generation in American history, my prediction, where we will see the diverse nutrition of produce and protein taken off the American working family's dinner plate and reverting American families to more starch-based diets that go in the opposite direction of what every health nutritionist tells us we need to be doing with American food plans. So, abundance is affordability. We need a pro-human attitude towards our energy policies, towards our water policies, and towards our food policies here in America. I hope that the leaders at the bureaucrats at Bureau of Reclamation will listen to Congressman LaMalfa today and heed his warning, because the American working family cannot take any more of this inflationary abuse of our natural resources. Thank you, Congressman LaMalfa. Glad to be here with you today.
I'm certainly glad you could join